Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the conclusion of the weekly comic book roundup. Um, we've covered this week's Marvel books. Now we've got this week's DC books. Starting actually with a holdover from last week. Future State Suicide Squad, number 1. So the issue begins with Sinestro, Mongal, and Brainiac having committed a heist, and they're on the run. And Brainiac explains that there are multiple hostiles inbound as the Justice Squad arrives. Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash, Martian Manhunter, and of course, Superman. It's quickly explained, however, that the Justice Squad is not who they appear to be. Talon of the Court of Owls is dressed as Batman. Wonder Woman is Hypnotic Woman in disguise. Aquaman is someone called the Fisherman. And whoever he is, he's controlled by the xenoform that used to look like a helmet, which now seems to take on the form of Aquaman's shirt. The Flash is an Australian speedster and former Teen Titan known as Bolt. Martian Manhunter is a version of Clayface. They've lost count of how many Clayfaces there have been. And Superman is Connor Kent. So, the three Legion of Doom members take on the Justice Squad. Mongal promptly puts Aquaman down. Not for the count or nothing, but at least, first takes him out in one hit. Clayface Manhunter then, however, pretty much consumes her. Flash rips off Sinestro's left arm, which is the arm he wears his ring on. Batman Bat-Talon nails him, sticks him through a wall with a knife. Superman and Wonder Woman fight off a ton of Brainiac drones. And Batman insists upon torturing Sinestro. Leading to his the bomb in his head being set off. Then the real Brainiac is stopped. There appears to be another group watching the Justice Squad from the shadows. At the Pentagon, they're not all of them are too happy, but with how things are. Turns out that Clayface, number whatever needs constant injections of something to, which is why he's on the team. And then the boss shows up. And some members of the squad rebel against Waller, and she doesn't just have explosives in their necks, but also basically tasers throughout their bodies. So, and yeah, she puts those to use. Superman confirms that all of Manhunter's bomb is literally every part of his body. It turns out though that Waller actually believes in Connor as Superman. But they have but there is a plan they're working on called Project Home Base. And since they managed to get the last remaining piece of tech from Brainiac that they needed for Project Home Base, it can become a reality. But Superman and Waller do butt heads a bit, mainly because, well, Connor feels like he needs to pick the team to actually work with them. Whereas Waller insists on picking the team himself, and she also explains that if the Justice Squad doesn't work out, there's always Task Force Z, the crime syndicate. I'm pretty sure they're basically saying that the crime syndicate here is dead, and that Waller has a Black Lantern ring she can use to resurrect them if need be. She also, as she leaves, she tells Superman to get on the same page as her, because he isn't what she thinks he is. She kept the leather jacket and glasses, and she'll happily bury Connor in them. And we learn that the other group that's been watching the squad includes Black Manta, and the rest of the Suicide Squad is revealed to be Peacemaker, Evil Star, Cheetah, looks like Mirror Master, and the other two I am actually not sure of. And that's where the Suicide Squad portion of the issue ends, which brings us to Future State Black Adam. Set in the 853rd century, focusing in part on the Justice Legion A. Justice League 1 million, for those. But something big is coming. And it awakens the one known as Superman Prime, basically classic Superman with a Green Lantern ring, from his home within a friggin' sun. And his enemy is a group known as the Unkindness, the Seven Deadly Sins, as well as Vandal Savage, Tikal, Child, and Dove. Superman Prime is promptly put to pasture by the Unkindness, and stopped by the Kindness. They don't kill him, but they do defeat him, and rather handedly. So Justice Legion A then goes after him. The cybernetic asteroid world of the artificial has done what's happened, calculated the odds of survival, and decided to self-detonate. Atlantean cruisers mobilized to meet the cosmic threat and are promptly destroyed. And Wonder Woman suggests that she might know someone who could help. The ruler of planet Kandach, Teth Adam. Turns out that Wonder Woman and Teth Adam have been seeing each other for the past few centuries. So they go and meet with Teth Adam. Maybe immortal, but his power is gone. There is no more magic in the universe. So, but then the unkindness arrives. Just Legion A do what they can to stop them. And somehow, the Rock of Eternity awakens in this moment. And Teth Adam once again becomes Black Adam. But he grabs Wonder Woman and tries to escape, as well as one of his advisors. As it turns out, the others are the other members of the Justice Legion are now under the thrall of the Seven Deadly Sins. Adam talks a bit to Wonder Woman about his history. And Wonder Woman informs him that she's pregnant. Basically, in part giving him someone to fight for. However, somewhat mind controlled, if not, the enthralled Justice Legion A breaks through the barrier they've erected. However, before the Justice Legion can attack, someone else arrives on the scene. The Gold Beetle. And she claims she knows how to save the universe. And that is where the issue ends. I like the idea of the Gold Beetle, a combination of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. It's perfect. Anyways, moving on to our next book, which is actually a book from this week, Future State Harley Quinn #2. Where we left off in Future State Harley Quinn, Harley was helping Jonathan Crane bring in other masked criminals from Gotham. And when I say masked criminals, I do mean, like the Bat villains. The Bat villains who are still on the loose, basically, and being villains. However, there's one that now, of course, he wanted to go after the big one, Black Mask. The issue begins with a senator is meeting with Black Mask, and it turns out this senator has been stealing money, or embezzling money, I should say, from Black Mask, and for that he's killed. Later, Harley, Dr. Crane, and CSI are investigating the crime scene. And Crane is trying to figure out, okay, how do we bring down Black Mask? And she tells him that the mask, which he left behind, is the ticket. They have to figure out where it was made from. But she shares a story about how back when her and Joker were together, they there was a place that out on the west side of Gotham, and they used it to basically make clown masks. So the magistrate attacks the factory. They run into one of the magistrate cybers, which probably turns on the troops and kills all of them. Crane blames Quinn. Crane blames Harley, and then there's a hollow message from Black Mask, taunting him basically. And finally, but Harley does make the suggestion that to take down Black Mask, you're gonna need a crazier mask, hinting that Crane should resurrect his old alter ego, the Scarecrow. That he eventually does decide to, and of course he intends to also take down the magistrate and Scarecrow intends to take down the magistrate and Harley. Who has since flown the coop and is at Gotham Docks trying to get Black Mask's attention, which she does. And then, but he of course realizes that. He of course points out that he knows bait when he sees it. And then things go dark. And the Scarecrow arrives. His costume looks much more like it did in the Arkham games, with the built-in gas mask, which actually has the aesthetics of a gas mask as much as it also has the aesthetics of a Scarecrow head. But Black Mask claims that the fear toxin won't work on him. However, Harley knocks out Crane, then knocks out Black Mask. And also takes Crane's Scarecrow mask and goes on her way. And yeah, it turns out that enough of the gas will affect Black Mask. Later, magistrates are arresting Crane as well as Black Mask, who is still experiencing the effects of the fear toxin. And actually, he's not being arrested, it seems, but yeah, he realizes that basically Harley basically ruined him, and after a while, Harley decides that you know what, Crane's mask ain't her thing, and simply tosses it in a dumpster. Besides, it smells like bad seafood in it. And that is where Future State Harley Quinn ends. Which brings us to our next DC book of the week, Future State, the next Batman, number 3. So where we left off, Jace Fox has taken on the mantle of the Bat. He was investigating a murder, found the killers, but it turns out that the victim had killed their child. First groomed and then killed their child, and so they got some payback. course, the magistrate arrives, and well, yeah. So he figures that the magistrate is not the best choice for them. So he opts to help them, and which is where the issue begins. So, fighting off the magistrate, Batman and his charges manage to escape. Also helps that Batman's gadgets also help quite a bit. But they back at Peacekeeper headquarters. At Magistrate Headquarters, Peacekeeper 01 wants to know what happened, how it was that an entire squad of his men were, taken down by Batman and two unknowns. The squad leader basically explains, they identify themselves. Peacekeeper cuts him off and says, no, you don't have to identify yourself. The rule is shoot on sight. You don't have to say, hey, magistrate, hands up. No. Peacekeeper 01 is expecting his troops to go in and just, find a mask and, start open fire. Maybe they might, while firing, cop to being peacekeepers, but yeah. So, but Stan tells his squad that they're going back out after Batman, and well, he intends to be the one to put a bullet in Batman. A couple of the cops are talking with Commissioner Montoya about the murder as well. Squeaky clean, but got picked off. It seems like no one's in any hurry to find out why he was killed. At one of Batman's safe houses, Batman asks his current charges to help him with the bullet wound he got earlier. Lucius and Tanya Fox have a chat about Wayne Enterprises' role when it comes to the peacekeepers, as well as the shoot-on-sight law. And Luke and his sister. Well, Luke's approached by his sister and asks if he's Batman. When she finally says, "Hey, no beating around the bush. Just say it, yes or no." And he says, "No, he's not." And so, yeah. But he does say whoever it is behind the mask, they're definitely good people. While also simultaneously saying that his brother's a piece of crap. So, But, so Batman calls up one of the cops and he says, "Hey, I've got the killers the killers you're looking for. I'll turn them over to you. They deserve a trial, not a summary execution." However, the would-be killers aren't too happy about this, or one of them, at least, isn't too happy with this. And he basically reopens Batman's wound, beating on him a bit, trusses him up, and figures, hey, maybe if maybe the magistrates, when they see that Eric's killed Batman, they'll give Eric and his wife a break. That's where the Batman portion of the issue ends, which brings us to the Outsiders, where we left off. The Signal was becoming something of a political figure in Gotham. Katana seemed to be slightly more empowered by a Soul Taker, and now Black Lightning It seems to be a being of pure energy. So Black Lightning and Katana are catching up, and he does kind of get her to soften her stance on Signal. He then reforges the blade, the original Soul Taker blade. Elsewhere, the Signal is helping some potential refugees on their way out of Gotham. And he watches as one of them. Oh, it doesn't take long after he's delivered them to a safe house when one of them decides they want to go for a walk. So, yeah. But turns out one of them, the one that planning to go for a walk, is augmented and actually intends to turn the Signal into the magistrate so that he can pay for more augmentations. But Katana and Black Lightning go to help Signal. And they actually do manage to do so. But yeah, she does manage to do some massive amounts of damage to Magistrate Hardware, and also, but Caliber shows up and tries to once again break the Soul Taker blade, but the three are now all three. Signal, Black Lightning, and Katana are reunited, and somehow they've now got plans. They've got plans to get Jefferson back. Return Jefferson to a physical form. And at the Gotham City border, later on, Signal shows up. The magistrate basically, kind of, hey, surrender or we're going to shoot. Well, he doesn't surrender, and then Black Lightning's energy form comes out of the Soul Taker blade, and Signal says, "Shoot them." And that is where the story ends. Which brings us to the second part of the Arkham Knights story. So Peacekeeper 6 is leading the charge against the Arkham Knights. Having taken down a gang of cybernetically augmented Penguin foot soldiers. But the Arkham Knights are occupying Wayne Manor and the cave system below it. With Astrid Arkham talking to each of the members: Killer Croc, Humpty Dumpty, Two-Face, Zaz. But Two-Face goes over the plan for the next operation, while Dr. Phosphorus kind of sits off to the side. And after the briefing, Two-Face does remark to Astrid that sedatives are having less and less effect on Phosphorus's pain levels. In Midtown Gotham, Peacekeeper 01 meets with Peacekeeper 06. As they're word has gotten out of an armory of theirs, and that's the target. That's the Arkham Knight's target. So they assault the armory. Phosphorus briefly gives into the pain, but Astrid's able to get him back on his feet. And however, it turns out that the armory in question is not actually the Knight's target, but rather the old police precinct. And so the Knights make their way through the precinct building, all the way to the roof, where they're met by Dent and where they're met by Harley Dent, and turns out their target was actually stealing the bat signal. It's exactly what they do. After PC Reserve 666 takes a shot at Phosphorus, and which actually does seem to hurt him, Astrid runs Six through and goes to retrieve Doc Phosphorus. It's unclear what becomes of Phosphorus, though they've since done some retooling of the bat signal and turned it into a sun. A beacon of hope to remind the magistrate why the relics of Gotham are worth fighting for. And kind of a rallying cry for those who would stand against the magistrate. And that is where the Arkham Knight's story concludes, as it's never the end. Which brings us now to our next book, Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, Book 4, the finale. Finally. Where we left off, Harley Quinn had a $20 million bounty on her head. She had pissed off Joker and actually quite a few of the other bad villains, who were also pissed off at Joker because Harley had broken into his vault where they also kept a lot of their valuables, and she had since absconded with all of it. And Joker had also taken Ivy prisoner in an attempt to really stick it to Harley. Also, the members of the some of the foot soldiers of the DeFeo family we're also trying to get a hold of Harley because, well, she did kind of mess up some of their operations in New York, so, you know, turnabout, fair play, all that fun stuff, but yeah. So the birds are fighting a bunch of the traditional Gotham villains, Scarecrow, Clayface, Mr. Freeze, Two-Face, and so on, as well as the DeFeo thugs. Canary gets Freeze to leave by cracking the glass part of his helmet, and Batgirl, Cassandra Cain, swipes his freeze gun and then sticks the gun up Clayface's ass and freezes him. Montoya puts her elbow in Two-Face's eye. Cassandra and Two-Face have a sword/umbrella fight, which leaves Penguin revealing himself to everyone. The surviving members of all that's left are the thugs of the DeFeo family who get a call to say, hey, Yeah, back off, guys. Just back off. But Montoya realizes that Harley Quinn is missing, which brings us to Ivy's apartment, where Joker is there with Harley, or with Ivy strung up from the ceiling, and some weed killer aimed at one of her giant carnivorous plants. Also, his new sidekick slash love interest, Harley Sin, is there too, and yeah, Harley is just kind of just not a fan of the dynamic between the two of them. Not out of jealousy. No, it's, ugh, it's so bland. But Sin beats the crap out of Harley. Mostly kicking her in the face, and eventually Harley says, kick me again. And then all of a sudden you fly into your death. So Sin kicks her again. And then Harley gets up and bum rushes her out a window. Her and Joker have a bit of a laugh over it. But Joker's like, that was fun. Okay, back to business. He's trying to figure out just how exactly what exactly he wants to do to hurt Harley. If he cuts her ears off, she can't hear him, and that would take the fun away. He could cut out her tongue, but then it would deny him hearing her scream. One eye would do the trick. She could still watch as he finishes her off, but Harley might go into shock and pass out. So he decides that he's going to carve a tattoo into her chest. A big J. Like I said, right about here. And she lays into him. She gets it. He's mad at her. And she doesn't blame him. She beat him in everything. She showed the whole wide world that she's better than he is at doing stuff. He's good at stealing stuff, but now everyone knows that she steals stuff better. He drives Gotham City, the GCPD batshit nuts, but she does batshit better. And she's got energy left to batshit back in New York. She understands that it must be really hard to deal with. So all Joker's got left is threatening to poke her with a little knife. So she tells him to go ahead and poke away, if he can. And yeah, he does, he carves a J right into her chest, as promised. Then Joker has her lay her hands out on the ground and pulls out a hammer and Jason's picking up from 1 to 10. So she says, "Your mother," and he smacks her in the face with the hammer instead. While he's looking for the smelling salts, however, Ivy comes to and sees the Joker carved a J into Harley's chest and is, to say the least, extremely unhappy. So the birds go to Ivy's building. Turns out some clown upstairs busted the elevator, so they're gonna have to use the stairs, to run up. They're gonna have to run up 21 flights of stairs. To say that Montoya's not happy about this is putting it lightly. Ivy goes back to playing possum while Joker continues to try and torture Harley. basically completely ignoring Ivy while she slips out of her bonds and frees her carnivorous plant, which then wraps its vines around Joker. And oh, yeah, Ivy is not happy. After all, Joker broke into her home, gassed her, and then tried to kill the one person she loves most in the whole world. And Harley hearing Ivy say that she loves her, of course, makes her happy. She tells Ivy she loves her too, and Ivy just says, sit still, let me take care of the invasive species. And Harley asks, hey, one favor, carve something fun into them. Carve them up good. And so the vine does do some carving, and yeah. Eventually, he gets chucked into the carnivorous plant, which tastes him a little and decides, nope, don't like it. And he gets smacked around by the vine some more and finally just tossed out the window, landing smack dab on top of Harley's Sin. Pretty sure also that, as the paramedics were stating that, oh, yeah, at least she didn't die. She's still alive. Pretty sure that Joker landing on top of her finished the job. The birds bust in. Harley passes out, just in time for Harley to pass out. Also, Ivy makes a poultice and rubs it on the J that Joker carved into her chest. And seemingly, Harley we get a little afterlife experience where God and the devil fight or argue over who gets Harley. Neither one wants her. The devil says, well, hey, all the good she does. Yeah, sure, she does hurt people, but people who deserve it. Right? The intent. Intent. That's the important thing, right? But God kind of says, okay, yeah, that might be true, but there's a pretty high body count. And they continue to argue. And eventually it's decided that, yeah, Harley just gets sent back to the land of the living. She comes to in the hospital and find out she's been out for 4 months. She's been in a coma for 4 months. In fact, the last 2 months she was in a vegetative state. And so, a week later, she's released from the hospital, but Ivy's got things she's got to take care of, so Huntress is going to be watching over her. Does a little bit of physical therapy, and she gets food, but however, Huntress gets called away, and so Dinah is tasked with keeping an eye on her. Well, yeah, that doesn't really work out too well. Then Barbara. That works out extremely poorly. For all of 15 hours. So Harley gets dumped off on Montoya because, well, Barbara's dad. which lasts all of 36 minutes, and then she gets dumped off on Cassandra, who's basically squatting in the attic of a place. And this actually used to work. 10 days they're there when Power Girl shows up. They flies the two of them to New York. Apparently, what Ivy was working on was rebuilding the gang of Harley's HQ. And so, basically everyone lives happily ever after. Block party involving Power Girl, Harley and Ivy, the gang of Harleys, the Birds. Yeah. Like I said, everyone lives happily ever after. That is the end of the series. Which brings us to our final book of the week, Hellblazer, Rise and Fall, Book 3. Where we left off, Constantine was having to deal with the fact that a demon he had summoned 30 years previously and was possessing the body of a childhood friend of his for the past 30 years, I might add, keeping said childhood friend as a child, has been selling angel wings to the rich in exchange for massive amounts of money, and then, well, when they try to fly to heaven, they fall and die. Basically, Constantine has teamed up with another childhood friend of his, who's now a police officer, and Lucifer. Yes, the devil. To take care of this errant demon. So, as the last issue ended, said demon was actually had actually gone to see the children of John's friend Aisha. And the three of them were hanging out playing video games, much to Aisha's despair. And so she brings in a bowl of sweets and she calls her kids over, but one of them is somehow he's bleeding. So Aisha's husband looks him over and so Aisha drives Tommy home, and Tommy and her talk about things, and basically he says, mother's so much fun because he does the cliche thing of, I know you're not going to stop me because I'll try to tell you that if you do try to stop me, I'll kill your husband and your children, and I'll do it slowly and painfully and let you know and allow you to see every excruciating detail that they get put through. Meanwhile, Tommy's father is imprisoned, and basically tries to buy. We find out that basically, he's getting obscene amounts of money for these angel wings, and offers to buy off Constantine with $50 billion. And John kind of scoffs at that, and Tommy's dad says, or Billy's, why did I say Bill? Tommy. Billy's dad said, you want more? I can give you more. And Constantine says, I can imagine anything worse than having that kind of money. But John has a plan. So Billy and Aisha show up. John hands Billy's dad a gun. And Billy turns the gun on, Billy's dad turns a gun on Billy, and says, says, I've had enough. And then the demon jumps out of Billy and into Billy's father. It's the first part of the plan. Billy's dad gets shot by the cops, and then Billy basically has to see his dead father, and then John, gets him, and he's like, "What? You're gonna how? Wait, what?" Because he's yeah, but the demon claws his way out of Billy's father when Lucifer shows up. So Despondio, the demon, runs off, kills a bunch of people, and Lucifer tells John that basically he's going to need to reuse the ritual that he summoned him with. So they go to John's dad's place. We meet Papa Constantine. And Lucifer meets John Constantine's father as well. And is rather unimpressed. I actually thought that, there'd be something more grandiose to Constantine's father. But, after John leaves, Lucifer has a brief chat with John's father. And John gets in the cab and begins to redo the ritual. But Lucifer and John's father come out, and Lucifer prods John's father to tell him something. He was wrong. And he's sorry that he made John ever think that everything that happened was his fault. He was a bastard, and he's sorry he took it out on John. And so John's dad suggests maybe, once things are over, maybe they could, get a pint and go to a game. And you know what? John kind of cheers up and was like, yeah, that sounds all right. But Lucifer explains that you can't face a demon who feeds on despair with the guilt of a lifetime on your soul. You needed that, so. And Lucifer also says, I get it. My dad put a lot of his shit on me too. So, go get him, Tiger. And so, John summons a demon, which then chases Chaz's cab. And eventually, though, they do manage to get him out of the way to a park, and Despondio jumps into John's body. And so Chaz reads off an incantation, and John and Despondio have a chat inside John's soul. And in fact, John says, here's my soul. You want it? Take it. It says the best thing about sympathetic magic it explains that it's sympathetic magic, and he basically focuses on some of the good memories, basically. And yeah, that's enough to turn Despondio down quite a bit. And John grows a pair of first demonic wings, then angelic wings, and continues to torture Despondio within. They get on Billy's dad's computer and make a quick transfer of funds from all of the various accounts. 30,000 to 14 million people. 30,000 each, 30,000 pounds each to 14 million people. Later, John meets with Lucifer, who takes Despondio and consumes him. And, you know what, hey, why not? He says to join John and company for a drink. The ghost of Aisha's partner meets with the ghost of a young girl, and to basically guide her to her parents. And you're having a bit of fun. John and Lucifer make out briefly in the bathroom. They deliver Chaz home, leaving him on his doorstep when Chaz's wife pops up, and, well, she's not too happy to see John until she takes a look at her bank account. John drops off Aisha and her husband, Jamie, and then heads on his way. And it should be noted also that the devil decided to carry on at least one time, carry on the shtick of Despondio, and seems a member of the royal family was the target this time around, and the body lands right smack in front of John, and a crown rolls over towards him, which John picks up and promptly puts on his head as he walks off, and the devil flies away. And that is where the issue and the series end. That's it for this week's roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.